Our experiment today is the standardization of potassium permanganate by oxalic acid and determination of hydrogen peroxide. To do this experiment, we need to use the oxalic acid, the KMnO4 solution, potassium permanganate solution, and 1 molar H2SO4. The first step should be done for this solution. It is the standardization of KMnO4. We prepared approximate concentration of KMnO4 around 0.02 molar, but it's not a primary standard, so we should do the standardization using oxalic acid. We will do the standardization step before measuring the percentage of hydrogen peroxide. We prepared the burette and filled until 0. Now this solution, it is dense, very dense color, so it is difficult to take the volume at the curve, at the bottom of the curve. So you can here read the top of the curve or tip of the meniscus. That will be okay. So we filled until 50. We will take around 0.1 gram of oxalic acid, dissolve in enough amount of hydrogen peroxide, H2SO4, 1 more H2SO4, and do the titration. We will take 0.1 gram of oxalic acid, now the sample mass of oxalic acid, as you can see here, 0.12 gram. So we are writing the sample mass here, how many gram we took, 0.12. Now we'll transfer the sample, oxalic acid sample, to the clean aluminum flask. Then we will dissolve this sample in 50 milliliter H2SO, 1 molar H2SO4. This 25, we will take another 25. However, we should do and heat the sample before starting the titration. I think already you have the information about that, because the reaction between oxalate and the KMnO4, it is slow at room temperature. So we should increase the temperature to increase the speed of the reaction. So we are increasing the temperature of the solution around until 70 degrees centigrade and titrate while the solution hot. Now we heated already to the enough temperature, around 70, 80. We will start the titration now while the sample it is hot. Before starting titration, the initial volume is 0. So now we will start the titration. As you know, for KMnO4, there is no need for the indicator, because this is self-indicator. And in the beginning, you will notice that maybe you will get the color direct, but what you can do, you can stop and shaking until the color disappears. Now the color disappeared, as you can see here. We will continue titration until we get the pink color. So you can see here we got the permanent color even after shaking. So this is the endpoint color. So you can see here the reading, the volume, the final volume, it's around 19.5. I should record here final volume 19.5, which is mean that titrant volume final minus initial, which is 19.5 milliliter. For the second solution, for the second part, sorry, we need to determine the hydrogen peroxide percentage. We will use the KMnO4 as titrant, and we will use the hydrogen peroxide after dilution. So here we prepared the hydrogen peroxide. We took 1 milliliter, we pipetted 1 milliliter and transferred to a clean 100 milliliter volumetric flask, which means that the dilution factor here, it is 100, the volume of the volumetric flask, over the taken volume from the stock, which is 100 over 1, and this means that dilution factor is 100. We prepared the burette, so the initial volume around 0, it's 0. We are taking here 10 milliliter from the diluted hydrogen peroxide solution, and we are transferring to a clean LML flask to do the titration. So 10 milliliter of the diluted solution, hydrogen peroxide, and we are adding here also 10 milliliter of the 1 molar H2O4 to change the medium to acidic medium, because we are doing this reaction at low pH. Now we will start the titration. There is no need for heating now, because the rate of the reaction between the hydrogen peroxide and KMnO4, it is already high. There is no need for heating. We will continue the titration until we get to the end point. The end point, again, there is no need for indicator. The end point is when you can see the pink color. So here you can see now we got the end point color, and it's permanent even if we are shaking. Just leave it. So here the final volume, it is 21. We will write the volumes here. The initial volume was 0, and the final volume, it is 21 milliliter.